Jesus warned of this attack before the rapture. Most Christians don't recognize it happening now. There is a reason you feel it, an invisible pressure, a heaviness in your spirit, a sense that something is pushing against your faith in ways you can't quite explain. It hits you when you pray. It shows up when you try to focus on God. It shows up when you worship, when you read scripture, when you think about the rapture. It's as if the air around you has become thicker, your thoughts more crowded, your emotions more fragile. And deep inside, you know this isn't ordinary stress. This isn't just life. Something spiritual is happening. Jesus saw this moment long before you were born. He saw a generation that would live in the exact tension you're feeling now. A generation that would face a specific attack before the rapture. Not a physical attack, not a political attack, but a spiritual one, aimed at your mind, your peace, your endurance, your clarity, your fire. He warned that this attack would come quietly, like a fog that creeps in during the night, slowly weakening believers until they didn't even realize they were under pressure. And if you're feeling it, it's not because you're weak. It's not because you're far from Him. It's because you are in the exact season He described. You are living in the final stretch, the last moments before the trumpet, and the enemy knows time is short. That is why your mind is more targeted. That is why your emotions feel shaken. That is why your spirit feels stretched. You are not breaking, you are being battled. Jesus didn't warn you to scare you. He warned you because He wanted you awake, alert, and anchored when this attack arrived. He wanted you to recognize it. He wanted you to endure it. He wanted you to understand that the pressure you feel is not the enemy winning, it's the enemy panicking, because He knows what is coming. He knows what Jesus promised. He knows what heaven is preparing. So, before we talk about the attack itself, pause and realize this. If you feel this spiritual pressure, it is because you are closer to the rapture than you think. Jesus saw it. Jesus predicted it. Jesus prepared you for it. And Jesus will carry you through it. Part 1. The spirit of weariness, that Jesus said would strike the last generation. There is a kind of tiredness that sleep cannot fix, a heaviness you feel even after rest, a weariness that lingers even when nothing is wrong on the outside. It's a spiritual exhaustion, the kind Jesus warned His disciples about when He told them, "Watch and pray." They weren't physically tired, they were spiritually overwhelmed. Their eyes were heavy because their spirits were under pressure, and what happened to them for one night is happening to the entire body of Christ in this final hour. You feel it when you try to pray. Your mind drifts. Your spirit feels slower. You want to seek Jesus, but something presses against you. You want to worship, but something dulls your fire. You want to read the Word, but it feels harder to focus. You're not rejecting God. You're fighting something invisible. And this is exactly what Jesus warned about. He said the final generation would experience a pressure so strong that even the elect would feel tempted to grow cold. Not lose faith, just lose strength. Not fall away, just fade into weariness. This attack is subtle. It doesn't shout. It pulls. It drains. It dulls your spiritual senses, 1 inch at a time. And if you don't understand it, you will mistake this weariness for spiritual decline when it is actually spiritual warfare. Jesus knew this season would come. He knew that as darkness increased in the world, the weight on believers' spirits would increase too. The constant sin, noise, chaos, corruption, confusion, and moral decay around you would act like spiritual gravity pulling you downward. What you feel is not random, it is the pressure of a world collapsing into the end times climate Jesus described. He warned that hearts would grow faint, that believers would become weary, that the world's lawlessness would wear out the saints. All of this points to a spiritual exhaustion unique to the final generation. You are not imagining your tiredness. You are living through prophecy. And here's what Jesus wanted you to understand. Spiritual weariness is not a sign you're losing your faith. It's a sign your faith is being targeted. The enemy knows he cannot destroy your salvation, so he tries to drain your strength. If he cannot make you fall, he tries to make you slow. If he cannot make you quit, he tries to make you tired. Because a tired believer is easier to distract, easier to discourage, and easier to silence. When you feel weary, remember this. Jesus did not rebuke his disciples for being attacked by heaviness. He simply told them to stay awake. Stay spiritually engaged. Stay aware of what is happening around you. He wasn't angry, they were under pressure. And so are you. What you feel is not weakness, it is warfare. And the very fact that you feel this pressure is proof that you are living in the season Jesus described. The rapture is near, and the enemy is pushing harder because he knows his time is almost gone. You are not spiritually dying, you are spiritually resisting. You are not losing fire, you are fighting for it. You are not cold, you are under attack. And the attack itself is proof that the moment Jesus calls his people home is close. Part 2. The mental and emotional attack, Jesus. Described as hearts failing from fear. If there is one battleground where the enemy is attacking the church fiercely right now, it is the mind. Not with obvious lies, not with dramatic temptations, but with subtle, emotional pressure that feels like anxiety, heaviness, confusion, and self-doubt. Jesus said this attack would explode in the last days. He said people's hearts would fail them for fear, not because of what they were seeing with their eyes, but because of what they would feel internally. This inner collapse is the emotional attack Jesus warned about. It comes as a whisper. You're not strong enough. You're not growing. You're drifting. You're not ready for the rapture. You're disappointing God. These aren't your thoughts. They are fiery darts aimed at your identity, confidence. The enemy knows he cannot steal your salvation, so he tries to make you doubt it. He cannot break your relationship with Jesus, so he tries to break your certainty in it. He attacks your emotions because emotions influence your perception. And if he can distort your perception, he can weaken your watchfulness. This is why so many believers today feel unsettled, restless, overwhelmed by small things, overthinking everything, feeling pressure over things that never used to bother them, feeling spiritually insecure even while walking faithfully with Jesus. Jesus said this would happen. He saw that the final generation would face emotional storms stronger than any before them, not because they were weak, but because the times would be heavy, the darkness would be thick. The uncertainty in the world would shake even steady hearts, and the enemy would exploit that atmosphere by attacking the mind where fear, doubt, and confusion are easiest to manipulate. But here's what Jesus wanted you to understand. These emotional battles are not signs of spiritual collapse, they are signs of spiritual resistance. The fact that your mind is being attacked means your calling is real. Your salvation is real. Your destiny is real. The enemy only pressures what threatens him. If your life wasn't dangerous to darkness, your mind wouldn't be a target. And remember this, Jesus never said, "Do not feel fear." He said, "Do not let your heart be troubled." Meaning, fear may come, but it doesn't get to rule. Anxiety may rise, but it doesn't get to sit on the throne. Confusion may whisper, but it doesn't get to define you. Jesus had disciples who felt fear, prophets who felt fear, heroes of faith who felt fear. Feeling fear is not sin. It is evidence that you are human and under attack. But Jesus said that in the last days, your strength will not come from how calm you feel, but from how anchored you are. Feelings may shake. The word does not. Emotions may rise. Jesus remains. Thoughts may swirl. Truth stands firm. What you're fighting in your mind is the exact battle Jesus warned about. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're chosen. Not because you're failing, but because you're close. The enemy attacks those he fears losing, and he knows that soon, very soon, the one who promised to return will appear, and your fight will be over. Your emotions do not disqualify you. Your doubts do not cancel your hope. Your battles do not push Jesus away. They simply prove that he's getting ready to call you home. Part 3. The attack of distraction that slowly pulls your heart away from watching. One of the strongest and most dangerous attacks Jesus warned about in the end times wasn't persecution. It wasn't deception. It wasn't even fear. It was distraction. Not evil things, not sinful things, just things, ordinary things, normal life, responsibilities, busyness, noise. 1,000 small demands that slowly dull your spiritual focus until you're not rejecting Jesus, you're just not watching him anymore. Jesus said the last days would look like the days of Noah, but he didn't highlight the violence or wickedness. He highlighted the normalcy: eating, drinking, building, planting, marrying, working. Nothing wrong, nothing sinful, just life. But a life so full, so fast, so noisy, so crowded that people became spiritually asleep. That is, the attack the enemy is launching today. He knows he cannot make most believers stop believing, so he tries to make them stop watching. He tries to bury their hearts under routines, responsibilities, and distractions. He tries to fill their schedules so tightly that there is no space left for eternity. He tries to crowd their attention so completely that they no longer sense the nearness of the hour. You begin to feel it when life gets heavier, when your mind feels overloaded, when your days feel rushed, when you go to pray and suddenly remember 10 things you forgot to do, when your desire for God is present but your focus is gone. It isn't rebellion, it's distraction. And Jesus warned that distraction would be the silent killer of the final generation's watchfulness. Distraction doesn't feel spiritual. It feels practical. It feels justified. It even feels necessary. That's why it's dangerous. It doesn't come with alarms. It comes quietly, slowly pulling your attention toward the temporary and away from the eternal. Jesus said, "Be careful, or your hearts will be weighed down with the cares of this life." He didn't say sin. He said cares, worries, tasks, responsibilities, pressure. If the enemy can make your life feel too full, he doesn't need to make your heart feel sinful, just tired and unfocused. The greatest battle for the last generation is not choosing between Jesus and the world. It is choosing Jesus in the midst of the world, choosing to stay awake when everything around you invites you to sleep, choosing to keep your spirit sharp when life tries to dull it, choosing to look up when everything pulls your eyes sideways. And let me tell you something. If you feel the pull of distraction right now, it doesn't mean you're drifting. It means you're being targeted because you're part of the bride. The enemy distracts those he fears. He attacks the watchfulness of those he knows are close to the moment of departure. Jesus knew this would happen. That's why he didn't command you to be perfect. He commanded you to stay awake, stay aware, stay spiritually sensitive. Because the distraction attack is not about making you sinful. It's about making you unprepared. But the fact that you're aware of the pull means you're already resisting it. And remember this, Jesus is not coming for the perfect. He is coming for the awake. And even if distractions pull at your flesh, your spirit knows the hour. Your heart is awake, even if your mind feels busy. And that is exactly why Jesus warned you to protect that spark. Part 4. The attack of discouragement that tries to break your hope before the rapture. Discouragement is one of the enemy's most effective and subtle attacks against believers living in the final hour. It doesn't arrive suddenly. It comes slowly. It builds quietly, like a cloud forming over your spirit. One disappointment, one unanswered prayer, one delayed breakthrough, one unexpected setback, one season of waiting longer than you wanted to. And before you know it, your heart feels heavier than it used to. Your hope feels thinner. Your joy feels quieter. Jesus saw this. That's why he warned that in the last days, the love of many will grow cold. Not because believers would stop loving him, but because pressure would wear them down. Discouragement isn't a loss of love, it's a loss of strength. And this is exactly what the enemy wants to weaken your hope, because hope fuels endurance. Discouragement whispers lies that sound like truth. You're not growing. Nothing is changing. Your prayers aren't doing anything. You're falling behind spiritually. You're not ready for the rapture. These lies feel heavy because they match your emotions. But emotions are not evidence. And discouragement never comes from Jesus. He calls you, comforts you, strengthens you, lifts you, but he never discourages you. This attack works by making you question your progress. It magnifies your flaws while minimizing your growth. It makes you forget how far you've come by constantly reminding you of where you're not yet. And the enemy loves this tactic because discouraged believers stop fighting as hard. Discouraged believers begin to retreat inward. Discouraged believers stop expecting God to move. But here is what Jesus wanted you to understand. Discouragement always intensifies right before breakthrough, right before the rapture, right before divine movement. The enemy attacks your hope the strongest when heaven is preparing something close. You are not discouraged because God is distant. You are discouraged because the battle is almost over. You are discouraged because you're nearing the finish line. You are discouraged because the enemy is terrified of losing you. Jesus never once condemned a discouraged heart. Instead, he comforted it. He healed it. He lifted it. He said, "Do not let your heart be troubled." He didn't say your heart wouldn't feel trouble. He said, "Don't let it take over. Don't let discouragement become your truth. Don't let weariness rewrite your identity." And here's the part Jesus needed you to know. You're not fighting discouragement because you're weak. You're fighting it because you're close. The closer the bride gets to the wedding, the harder the enemy attacks her hope. Because hope keeps the lamp burning. Discouragement is not a sign that you're failing. It is a sign that you're enduring. It is the final pressure before the final deliverance. And Jesus warned you about it so you would endure, knowing that your hope may flicker but it will not go out. Part 5. The attack of deception that tries to numb your urgency before Jesus returns. If there is one attack Jesus repeated more than any other, more than persecution, more than chaos, more than fear, it is deception. When his disciples asked him about the end of the age, the very first words he spoke were, "Take heed that no man deceive you." Not "be careful of storms," not "be careful of governments," but "be careful of deception." Because deception is the final attack, designed to make believers spiritually dull right before the rapture. This is not the kind of deception that turns Christians into atheists. It is the kind that slowly numbs their urgency. It persuades them that Jesus is not coming as soon as they think. It whispers that prophecy is interesting but not important. It convinces them that life will continue as normal, that warnings are exaggerated, that signs are coincidences, that preparation is unnecessary, that watchfulness is extreme. Deception always comes disguised as balance, logic, realism, or maturity. It says, people have been saying Jesus is coming for years. It says, every generation thought they were the last. It says, don't get carried away with prophecy. It says, the world has always been like this. It says, focus on living your life. It sounds reasonable. It feels harmless. But its purpose is deadly: to lull the final generation into spiritual sleep. Jesus warned that this spirit would be so strong that even wise virgins, the ones with oil, would fall asleep. Not fall away. Just fall asleep. A sleeping believer is still saved, still redeemed, still belonging to Jesus, but spiritually silent, spiritually sluggish, spiritually unaware of how close the moment truly is. You see this deception everywhere today. People who once watched with passion now shrug with indifference. People who once felt urgency now feel numb. People who once sensed prophecy unfolding now feel bored or overwhelmed. It's not because prophecy changed, it's because the pressure of the world has dulled their senses. And here is the frightening part. Deception doesn't always feel like deception. Sometimes it feels like comfort. It feels like relief. It feels like ease. It feels like permission to stop fighting, to stop watching, to stop caring so much. That is why Jesus warned so intensely. He knew the final generation would face a spiritual fog that makes believers forget the hour they're living in. But he also gave the solution. Over and over, he said, watch, stay awake, do not be deceived, be ready. These commands weren't for unbelievers, they were for believers. Because deception doesn't target the lost. It targets the expectant. It targets those who know prophecy. It targets those who feel the urgency. It targets those whose hearts are awake. If you feel the pull to relax spiritually, if you feel yourself losing urgency, if you feel temptation to push the rapture to the back of your mind, That is not coincidence. That is not normal life. That is spiritual deception trying to draw a curtain over your discernment. It's the final attack meant to silence your awareness so you miss the spiritual signals Jesus wants you to see. But if you recognize this attack, you can resist it. The very fact that your spirit still stirs, still watches, still cares, still longs for His appearing is proof that deception has not won. Your awareness is the evidence that the Holy Spirit is keeping your lamp burning. And Jesus promised that those who remain watching would never be caught off guard. He sees every moment your spirit chooses clarity over confusion, truth over lies, urgency over numbness. You are not deceived, you are awakened. You are not drifting, you are discerning. You are not losing urgency, you are fighting for it. And that fight is the clearest sign that Jesus' return is near. Conclusion: Jesus warned you because He knew you would overcome this final attack. Before the rapture, Jesus knew the enemy would unleash a storm, an attack not against your body, but against your spirit. He knew you would face weariness so heavy it would feel supernatural. He knew fear would press on your thoughts until your heart felt fragile. He knew distraction would pull at your attention until the eternal felt distant. He knew discouragement would whisper lies until your hope felt thin. And He knew deception would try to numb your urgency until the signs felt blurred. But Jesus didn't warn you because He doubted you. He warned you because He trusted you, because He looked into the final generation and saw believers who would endure the pressure and keep their eyes on Him. Believers who would feel the heaviness but refuse to surrender. Believers who would face the emotional storm but still choose faith. Believers who would fight distraction and keep their spirits awake. Believers who would push through discouragement and hold on to hope. Believers who would see through deception and recognize the hour. If you feel these attacks, it is not because you are failing, it is because you are close, closer than any generation before you. The pressure is proof that prophecy is unfolding. The heaviness is proof that the enemy is terrified. The battles are proof that heaven is almost ready, and the stirring in your spirit is proof that the bridegroom is near. Jesus didn't warn you so you would fear the darkness. He warned you so you would defeat it. He warned you so you would stand. He warned you so you would understand the attacks are not signs of distance, they are signs of proximity, signs of nearness, signs that the trumpet is approaching. And soon the attack will end, the pressure will lift, the discouragement will vanish, the battle for your mind will be over, the distractions will fade, the deception will break, and the one who warned you will call you by name. And in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, you will rise above every attack that ever tried to break you. The warning was never to scare you. It was to prepare you. And now, you know why. Because the rapture is near, and Jesus is coming for you.